Welcome back, me. What's up, guys? I didn't know if I was gonna get on here, but I had two people recently comment like, "Hey, man, where you been?" So I guess this is officially my first video of the 2021 season, and whether it's one or two people or 1 or 200, which will never be the case, but it doesn't matter. If I felt obligated to hop on when I saw those comments. So thank you guys for asking. Hey, where are you? So here I am. I'll try and give just kind of a brief. Like next day notes is what I'll call it for last night's Jesus entertaining as hell game. I'll say that. There's no denying that. God damn that. I'm still like, Jesus fucking Christ, is it over? I need to come down from that. That was freaking crazy. But some people have already put out instant reactions, so you'll probably hear a lot of what other people have already said. Maybe I'll give you some new tidbits, but I think I like to do it next day. I don't think I'm gonna do any instant reactions. One, I don't really have the time, like on the weekend, to do that, like in the moment. Usually I'm not sober, so I'm gonna try and keep these videos sober, and I'm trying to do it the next day. So here's my next day notes. I'll try and run through these as quickly as I can. First, elephant in the room, starting quarterback. Who should start? We got a lot of hindsight, anecdotal, dumb motherfuckers on here. Man, why didn't Milt start, man? Well, if you've read any practice reports, he's barely practiced the previous 2 weeks, and the other reports were J-Trav earned the job, right? He earned the job, and Milton was barely practicing. Like logic says, you probably shouldn't start a guy that's barely practiced, even a guy with Milton's resume. And the reasons that some Knowles folks said was because, well, they're still easing him in because the leg, bionic leg, it's maybe a little rusty. And rumors of like him dealing with COVID or something. So I didn't have a problem with J-Trav starting, right? In the game, there's no sugarcoating it. He was awful as a passer in that game. Obviously his legs, saved the day a few times, but just generally just didn't look good. My criticism of the quarterback situation, at least for game one, was I would have pulled Jay Travis after the second pick. If Milton was available, and clearly he was because he entered the game, he's not sitting there to look pretty, right? After that second pick, it's clear J-Trav doesn't have it as a passer tonight, right? Whether our receivers were getting separation or not, Travis was holding the ball a long time. Like, I get it when it's hike, you're fucked, right? The O-line parts like the Red Sea. But there were snaps where I'm like, all right, 1001, 1002, 1003. Okay, 3 seconds, right? Some of the lines, like, Bama might give you 4, 5, or 6, but at FSU with this line that's still up and coming, 3 seconds, the ball needs to come out, or you need to run, or something. And that seemed like time after time, he wasn't getting rid of the ball. He was spinning around, doing this, that, and the other. So either he was gun shy, which I think is very possible, didn't trust him to throw it into a tight window or something, or the receivers weren't getting consistent separation. Maybe it was a combination of both. But going into going into next week, I would assume Milton is the starter as long as he can practice, as long as his leg isn't like hanging off his body. He should be the starter, right? We saw when he came into the game. First, we do have to cite context, right? When he came into the game, Notre Dame was playing a lot of 3-man fronts, which I didn't fucking get because we just kept taking it. All right, we're going to run and run again and run again and run again. So when he came into the game, he had less pressure, and I think that was a big reason why. The other reason was he was, at least appeared on TV, he was making quicker reads, getting rid of the ball within that 1001, 1002, 1003, and likely getting in the offensive line into better checks. I mean, that's what happens when you have a guy with his experience. He can get you in and out of the correct checks, right? So between that and the 3-man front, I think it was a soft landing. Like, if Milton starts the game, and the way the early pass pro was in that game, which is to say, god awful, I don't know if Milton makes it halftime. Because he can move a little bit, even on his bionic leg, but he can't move like Travis. So if he's facing that pass rush in the first quarter, second quarter, that leg might be dangling off. I don't know. So I'm not going to criticize not starting him. I will criticize for not yanking J-Trav after a second pick. So Norvell, do better there, bud. All right, running backs, quickly. They all ran hard. I like all of them. They kind of add a different wrinkle, right? Corbin's kind of the all-around guy, right? Can take a hit, has decent speed, not great, little shiftiness, right? And then Ward, little smaller guy, but very shifty, always falls forward. And Toa Feely's more of the home run hitter. But all of them ran hard. Like, effort wasn't a question, much like the team on the entire night. That's one thing you cannot question this coaching staff about after last night. The effort was there. It was awesome all night long. When a team is that mismatched, or that overmatched as far as talent and the game matchup itself, and you go take them to overtime, a lot of that has to do with effort. But I like all three running backs. None of them are elite, but those three are good enough to carry this team in this conference, to at least not have a god-awful running attack. And they didn't. They had 264 yards rushing, and even when you take away Corbin's 89-yarder, the team still averaged 5.61 a carry, which is very good, especially in the context of facing a D-line like Notre Dame's. There's a couple more D-lines that we'll face that are very good, right? But Notre Dame's is definitely up there on the list of tough D-lines we'll face all year. So it was nice seeing those 264 yards rushing. Passing attack, hopefully that improves with Milton. It can't get worse than J-Trav's passing performance last night, but we'll see. The wide receivers, I'd love to see the all 22, because I heard some people at the game, some of them said, yeah, there wasn't a lot of separation. I heard other friends say they were getting open. J-Trav wasn't throwing it. So let's say if that is the case, J-Trav isn't throwing it to those open receivers because he doesn't trust his arm. That's the only thing I can surmise, because it did seem like, right, even when he did get some time, which early in the game wasn't often, but when he did, I'm talking a solid 3 seconds, 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000. He was just compounding the offensive line's lack of talent by not getting rid of the ball or not taking off and running. He was, I'm gonna spin around back here in the pocket, and throw across my body, like, like there were a lot of offensive mistakes in that game. It's amazing it went to overtime with a top 10 team, right? But we'll see if it changes with Milton. I suspect it will, just because of his experience, knowing how to get the line and the team in and out of the correct play calls at the line of scrimmage, making the adjustments in a quick. He's going to get rid of the ball quickly. Not a strong arm, but he's got that quick release. He will let it go. He does have the confidence to throw in windows like this. He doesn't need a guy running open by 2 yards, So hopefully that improves. Tight ends, basically non-existent, but we knew that, right? Going into the season, the tight end room isn't very good, right? No, we weren't scheming to have our tight ends have a great game, because they're just not very good. They're essentially third and fourth left tackles, right? But I would like to see, and I said it during the game, occasionally surprise a team, because they're not giving your tight ends any respect, and they shouldn't, not FSU's. I was hoping to see something, especially with all that rolling of the pocket. Like, let's do what Boston College used to kill us with. Once in a while, let's roll literally the whole pocket to the right, and then have the tight end leak left. That's probably the only way we can really get them going. They're not going to be a focal point. Other things to say about the receivers. I don't remember too many drops. Helton, it's not a 50-50 ball for Helton. It's a 70-30. When him and another guy are going up, I expect him to come down with the ball. That dude fights for the ball. McLean, you saw what the camp reports were all about. He's a big guy, but he doesn't move like a big guy. That long play he had, that was impressive burst for a big guy. And of course, Wren, we knew he was the fastest player on the team, and he showed it on that long touchdown catch. I think once he gets a little more polish as a route runner, he can do some things out of that slot, man. I mean, he's 5'7", so it's basically slot or bust for him, but he could be exciting to watch from the slot, because that speed is it's real. Going over to the defense, can't start with the defense without defensive talk without talking about defensive line. I mean, my God, this is not a defensive line we've seen the last 4 seasons. Like, not even close. I'm not saying this is like an elite defensive line, but it's very good. It's night and fucking day from the previous couple seasons. And I like how they all kind of do different things. Like JJ, holy hell, what a game. 2 sacks. The guy is a stud, legit. I'm not saying an All-American, but it wouldn't shock me if he was like all-conference. I know it's one game, but man, versus a caliber of offensive line like that, to do what he did was impressive. Keir Thomas, the other transfer, he has a different kind of wrinkle to it. kind of a stouter and lighter D tackle that's quick. Cooper's fat ass kind of clogs things for the running game. Quayshawn Fuller surprised many by having an impact in the game. So the defensive line, I mean, it's not a game without them. Like, we know the trenches are important, but like, they carried Fuller's jock, right? I'll get to Fuller in a minute. But I'm excited to watch a D-line again. Because usually, what have they looked like the previous few seasons? Like they're on fucking roller skates every snap. Ooh, get pushed back again. But awesome. Something to look forward to. And like, just Johnson having an impact guy that every team has to circle? What's that? I forgot what the fuck that's like. So it'll be fun to watch him. Linebackers, it's easy to dump on them because the linebackers have been bad for a long time. And they were bad in coverage last night for sure. But I think on the whole, they were like not atrocious, not good. But at least the run fits were better, There were very few times where I'm like, whoa, you missed that run fit by a mile. And, Notre Dame's really awesome running back is taken off. I mean, they held Notre Dame to 65 rushing yards on 35 carries. Mathematical math tells me that's less than 2 yards per carry. That is excellent. So clearly their game plan was make Cone beat us. Fortunately, he did, but that was the correct game plan. Because I think long-term, Cone, once he actually plays some more legit teams, I mean, we have a tendency to make most passers look like Heisman Trophy winners. So I'm curious to see how he does the rest of the year, because there are moments where I'm like, okay, he's doing a good job. The stat line's there, but he's also throwing to guys like Meyer, who's wide open. He had a couple of his receivers make really good 50-50 catches, right? So I'm curious to see, anyways, defensive backs. Generally, we're pretty decent. Like, I love Jay. I love Brownlee. Dent, get a pair of hands, my dude. Jerry and Jones, the old transfer. He was like last year. He had a PFF grade of like dog shit. At least it looks steady. So yeah, there were some plays where they got mossed or didn't get their heads around, and that's been an issue for a while. I wish someone would just repeatedly tell them, like, get your head around. And sometimes a defensive pass interference isn't the worst result. But I thought generally they were better. They were generally there to make a play. They didn't always make it, but they were generally in position to. And the same goes with the safeties, right? And the defense as a whole, most of the night, they seem to be in position to make a play. Most of the night, right? This is not me giving Fuller that much credit. Like, let's get real. His defense still allowed 6.15 yards per play against Notre Dame. Now, I know Notre Dame's good, right? We'll see what they do all season, but 6.15 yards per play, if this were to be a one game season annually, that would probably put them in like the top 20 offenses as far as yards per play. So like, yeah, they shut down the run, but you forced Cone to beat you, and he did. And I can't stop talking about Fuller without mentioning what everyone's probably mentioned, the 3rd and 17 call. I'm no fucking X's and O's, guys. I know a little, but not much. But I'm sure everybody on Twitter, everybody in the fucking stadium, were thinking on that 3rd and 17, hey, do anything but all out blitz. Anything else. And that's what I said on TV. I'm like, just keep it in front of you. Don't get stupid. Surprise, they checked into a screen when it looked like the blitz was coming. And that was a gigantic play in the fucking game. Fuller can still go fuck himself. He deserves some credit for looking like his guys were in position to make plays, but still, as I said, it was still 6.1 yards per play. Like, I'm not going to be like, yeah, congrats. No, I still want him the fuck out of here. All right? And if he's not out of here at some point, whether it's in season or next season, then that's on Mike. Okay? So, still, fuck Fuller. I'll never trust a Fuller-led defense until he proves otherwise. So, other things in the game, moving beyond units and stuff. Let's see, I think of bounce around here. Oh, Mike going for it. What was it, the 3rd quarter? Backed up on our own 30 or whatever. I didn't mind him going for it there. Was it 4th and 2, 4th and 3? Because leading up to that point, Notre Dame's previous, I think, 2 drives, they were doing whatever the fuck they wanted. I mean, you punt, okay, cool. Notre Dame, it looked like, was probably going to go down and score again, and the game's really fucking over. So, playing to win. Of course, I have a more aggressive perspective when it comes to, like, 4th down math and shit. So I know some people won't agree with me. I had no problems in going for it. What I did have a problem with was the series of play calls, which were fucking slapdick. Not 1, but 2 wildcats. And then the 4th down call. Again, I don't mind you going for it. Have some gusto. You know, trust your players. You know, I don't trust a Fuller-led defense. I get it. You're worried if you punt it, they're going to go down and score again. But your call is rolling to the short side of the field there, and thereby closing the window that Travis would have to throw into. I'd have to look at the play again. Maybe someone was open and Travis just completely missed it. Someone could maybe tell me in the comments. But I just didn't like the the play rolling to the short side. And, just squeezing everyone, offensive, defensive players into, a small space. So I hated the series. I hated the series. That was a poor coaching series as far as play calls. But I was cool with them going for it. What's some other moments in the game? I'm going to bounce around here. I'm 16 minutes here. People stop watching after like 8, but whatever. The challenge. I mean, come on, folks. Let's not play the hindsight game. The overtime challenge by Norvell. The decision was simple. Give your kicker a 50-yard attempt or a 37-yard attempt. Of course, he fucking makes the 50-yarder that doesn't count and then completely shanks the 37-yarder. Oh, and while we're talking about the kicker, I'm glad you missed that extra point, buddy. Or excuse me, I'm glad the holder couldn't get that snap down, buddy. Yeah, that 1 point didn't come back to bite us, but the challenge was fine. Like, people were like, oh, he iced his own kicker. No, motherfucker. He challenged before the fucking kick was, 50-yarder was attempted because he wanted to get his guy closer. I mean, hello, 37 versus 50. Like, some people are fucking dumb. Like, really fucking dumb. So I didn't hate that. Or some other things. Again, some guys that stood out. Again, I mentioned Fuller was a surprise. Again, I really like Brownlee and Jay. Wrap this up because now I'm getting some dead air here. Here's something else. And I think was this? No, this was right before overtime. This is the things popped in my head. Sorry. When Notre Dame was trying to go down and prevent overtime by kicking a late field goal, what in the fucking hell? On one of their first few plays, that tight end or that sideline catch by their tight end stays in bounds with his elbow or whatever, and the clock stops inexplicably at 32 seconds or whatever it was. I'm just watching TV like, why'd the clock stop? That was like unbelievable. Like, what the hell? What the ever living hell? So I guess to wrap up, the game was a mixed bag. There was definitely coaching decisions that you can criticize all day long, but there was also a ton of positives. The effort. I mean, down 18, I thought it was over. Hell, I thought it was over before the game fucking started. I assumed I probably wouldn't be watching in the 4th quarter. Down by 18, they come all the way back. There were some guys where you're like, wow, there's some impact players out there. Like, not just boring, like, there's some impact guys now. No one elite per se, but like guys you can be like, oh, I can't wait to watch him Saturday. I have been saying that less and less the last few years. Again, fuck Fuller. We know this. Offensive coaching staff, including Norvell, like, there's some questionable decisions, but on the whole, right? I know there's not supposed to be any moral victories at FSU and all these the standard parrots. The standard. If you think the standard's going to be met in 2021, you might as well not watch another game. You're going to be disappointed as fuck. I know some of you binary morons, it's easier for you to think like black and white. Well, we have to either be this or nothing at all. Like, if you don't walk away from that game feeling like generally optimistic about the future of this team, then you're probably a miserable, shithead. Like, there's definitely some moments in that game where you can criticize the coaching staff all day long, but like, you have to generally feel pretty good. I do. I'm not saying we're going to go out and go 8-4, 9-3, or anything like that. One game doesn't, translate to the next 11, so to speak. But I mean, I'll admit, I didn't give us much of a chance. I know some folks did, and good for them. But I have hope, not necessarily for the season, but if this is the beginning of the upward trajectory, hey, I can deal with that. Some people have thrown out 2011 Oklahoma game as Jimbo's first, hey, you see, the year before Oklahoma blew them out, and this time they, FSU took them late in the game, and I was at that game, and that did feel at the game like Rome wasn't built in a day type shit. So we'll see. We know the 21 games. We know those fuckers will rear their ugly heads, by November. But as for now, you got to be excited. And of course, I guess I should quickly mention the recruiting. I mean, hell, huge. People have noted this. It was a huge gamble bringing, 1,000 recruits, whatever it was, 100 recruits. But even when the L, you took a top 10 team to overtime. All right. Now you're having crystal balls come in for 5-star receiver Coleman, 4-star tight end Skinner. You gambled, and it probably going to pay off on the recruiting trail. So I'm excited. Next week, get a cupcake, can relax. See you next week.